I'm Chris Carroll, the Interim CEO of the City of Port Phillip. It's my great privilege tonight to preside over this special meeting to elect the next mayor of this great city. So with that in mind, I'd like to declare the special meeting of the City of Port Phillip open, and I welcome our councillors, officers and members of the community watching tonight's proceeding here at the St Kilda Town Hall and via our online webcast. The City of Port Phillip respectfully acknowledges the traditional owners of this land, the people of the Kulin Nations. We pay our respect to their elders past and present, and we acknowledge and uphold their continuing relationship to this land. The meeting tonight is being conducted in a hybrid style. That means it's streamed via Council's webcast page and Facebook Live, as well as obviously here in person tonight. Streams and recordings of council meetings are copyrighted and cannot be altered, reproduced or republished without the permission of council. If we do experience any technical difficulties tonight, we'll adjourn the meeting for a short period of time to resolve the issue. I note for attendees that this is a special meeting of council. Members of the public will not be able to address the meeting. However, I invite you to stay after the meeting and enjoy some light refreshments. I also remind all councillors to extend due courtesy in respect to council and the processes under which it operates, including taking direction from me as chair whenever called to do so tonight. Councillors must remain respectful and statements must not be defamatory, offensive or objectionable, aimed at embarrassing a councillor or a member of council staff, or relate to a matter outside the powers of the council. So with that, requests to join by electronic means. Councillors, we have had no request to join by electronic means tonight. Apologies. Councillors, we have no apologies for tonight. Presentations. Councillors, do we have any presentations for tonight's meeting?
Yes, Chair. I would like to make a presentation to Councillor Bond for his 10 years of service to the City of Port Phillip.
Thank you, Councillor Pearl.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Councillor Andrew Bond celebrated his 10th anniversary as a councillor of the City of Port Phillip recently, and it's right and proper that we acknowledge his decade-long service to his local community through being a councillor, and I think the only councillor to win 3 successive 4-year terms on the City of Port Phillip. That was an unlikely scenario many years ago when effectively Councillor Bond was then put up by a rather mischief former City of St Kilda councillor known as Virginia Brown as a strategy to keep another former councillor off council. And with the ways of elections working and the way things operate, with the support of the councillor you're actually trying to keep off council, you ended up pipping the Greens, who was the person you were actually preferencing to try and get into council, to win an unlikely seat. But what happened during that process is when they put you up as a candidate, they thought that you would put your name on the ballot, they'll letterbox some brochures. They didn't expect you to go out and campaign and eventually win the substantial amount of votes required to win the election. And you've shown the same depth of sincerity and hard work and work ethic in the way that you've approached your constituency, in the way you campaigned all the way back then in 2012. You've taken a keen interest in many issues and initiatives important to your community, particularly around supporting live music traders and particularly during the COVID-19 lockdown. You had many discussions with locals and traders regarding parklets, and you were one of the key councillors at the time to push forward for outdoor dining and events and also arts and activations to retain the city's reputation as a lively cultural dining destination. You're a proud advocate for the cultural and economic benefits of the St Kilda Festival, and I think you're the custodian of the St Kilda Festival T-shirt collection, which if you see on online meetings, they rotate during the meeting. He goes and does a wardrobe change for the different St Kilda Festival T-shirt. It's quite an interesting thing. You've also been a very passionate supporter of a number of key projects of council over the time and been instrumental in some of them. None probably larger than the Palais Theatre, which was a wonderful outcome for St Kilda, but particularly council. And albeit you did that with a number of other councils and officers, etc., you were obviously one of the key councillors at the time driving that deal through, which is providing already sizable benefit to our local economy and our local cultural DNA, the local DNA of our cultural community. You also were a keen advocate for CCTV along Fitzroy Street and also the purchase of the mobile CCTV unit that's been purchased recently. Your recent advocacy items for local sporting clubs and the upkeep of our sporting facilities has been most admirable. So, Councillor Bond, we respect your service to the City of Port Phillip. I've enjoyed working with you. I think most of us, generally speaking, have enjoyed working with you also. Use the word general. But you do have a track record of commitments that is important to honour, and 10 years of service to anything is something to be commended, that's true, but 10 years of service to council and the level of commitment you've made to council is a good thing. So on behalf of the City of Port Phillip and the councillors here today, we acknowledge your 10th anniversary of service to your community, and we thank you for that service. So on behalf of council, I've got a small little gift that we'll give to you now. Congratulations, Councillor Bond.
Thank you, Councillor Pearl, and congratulations, and thank you for your service, Councillor Bond. Are there any other councillors that would like to speak to this item? Councillor Bond, would you like to respond?
There we go. I think someone did that to me on purpose. I won't say too much because I think Marcus has said most of what needs to be said, and there are probably more important events to occur tonight than me being recognised for 10 years at the City of Port Phillip. I would just like to say a few thank yous to those that I won't say helped get me here. They are actually responsible for me being here. I will use the word responsible because without them I would never have put my hand up to run. I would never have thought of running. And that's Virginia Brown, Tony Brown and Kay O'Connor, who were the three people who got me to nominate, the three people who helped me with my flyers. I think we had 24 hours to turn things around. We took, Virginia and I just did laps of St Kilda East, St Kilda, taking photos in various locations just one day, and all those photos went on the flyer. And there was a photo we took of myself, Tony, and a beautiful little dog called Maggie. And I used that photo on my flyer, and when I was standing, they were attendance elections in those days, and we're standing outside the booth handing out how to vote cards as you do, and everyone kept walking past saying, "You're the dog guy, I'm voting for you, you're the dog guy." I'm like, yeah, Maggie, yeah, wonderful dog. And I ended up winning by 28 votes, and I think Maggie was probably responsible for most of those 28 votes. So, it was a strange set of circumstances that saw me get here as a councillor. Ironically, the longest serving, I think I'm now the second longest serving councillor in the history of Port Phillip. The longest serving councillor in Port Phillip is of course Dick Gross, who I beat at that election. However, Dick subsequently made a stunning comeback to council, and I'm sure he's watching on somewhere thinking, no way I will ever catch his record, and he's probably right. Someone asked me today, what's your greatest achievement? And I think Marcus has gone through a few of the things that have happened over my 10 years here at Port Phillip, and I thought about it for a while, and they said, because I've got one. I said, right, tell me what it is. And thinking, is it the Triangle? Is it Ackland Street? Is it the Palais, Fitzroy Street? A number of other things. And they said, no, your biggest achievement in this city and your lasting impact on this city will be loading bays in apartment blocks on St Kilda Road. They said, because every building that has a loading bay on St Kilda Road and Queens Road and those surrounding areas would not have had one if it hadn't been for you going on and on and on about it for 10 years. So I don't think that's an achievement I will ever top in the next couple of years. But if it's one impact I've had or one lasting impact I've had on this city, I think that's a good outcome. So I think that's about all I will say. But sincerely thank you, Marcus. You've been a great support during 6 of my 10 years, as have Virginia, Tony and Kay. Thank you again. You've always been wise ears to bend at times when I've needed to speak to people about certain things. And your support and your feedback and commentary and all the other advice you've given me over the years has been most welcome. So thank you very much for that, and I'll let us get on with the rest of the meeting because, as I said, there's much more important things to do tonight than listen to me.
Thank you, Councillor Bond. Are there any other presentations for tonight's meeting? No? All right. So now I'd like to invite Councillor Marcus Pearl to address the meeting as the outgoing Mayor.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you all of you for being here this evening. When you elected me councillors, I promised you that I would give this job my all 12 months ago, and I told you I'd act with integrity, I'd be impartial, and I'd focus on bringing us together to get better outcomes or great outcomes for our community. And I put my hand on my heart when I tell you that I've done my absolute best to make that happen. It was a very large surprise that you made me Mayor. It might have been not to some of you, but it was to me a year ago, and it caused a bit of a large life change at the time, and that was all for the better. And I do sincerely thank you for giving me what was a wonderful opportunity, probably one of the best opportunities of my life, to be able to serve our community. We have a great responsibility here as councillors, that's true, but to be able to lead this city as your Mayor is an honour and a privilege well above what I understood at the time to what I now have now, what I now understand here. I think evidence of that is proof in the pudding that I think I've pretty much pissed everybody off equally over the last 12 months, including in the past 2 weeks. I've had all sides of politics and others come to me telling me I'm being impartial and not behaving the right way. And every time that happens, I sort of check myself and think, you're probably about right somewhere. But it is a bit of a lonely place to be sometimes. But I must tell you, I feel that I've been hugely supported as you as the council group. I think we have done a reasonable job. We can always do better, and we'll continue to improve as the next 2 years of this term go through. Our community demands a lot of us, and that's a good thing. And I've done my very, very best to make sure I put our best foot forward and a united foot forward over the last 12 months when I was Mayor. One thing I have done my very, very best to do over the past 12 months is represent you as best as we possibly can in the federal and the state election advocacy, which I've enjoyed immensely. I reconnected and leveraged from what Councillor Crawford did last year during her mayoralty by reconnecting our community in the post-COVID environment. Councillor Crawford had a very difficult year in that most of her year was navigating lockdowns and how to communicate effectively through social media and other means to a community that desperately needed to hear from us, and she did a wonderful job of that. It was a lot easier for me because we got back to normal pretty much from day one. So doing things like the 50 mobile mayors, which admittedly I did 10 of those 50 in the last week and a half. But I did want to get to 50. We made that point. In fact, I was out for an hour and a half this afternoon in Port Melbourne, and that's what I love doing the most: standing on the street, listening to people and talking to people and being visible. And I've enjoyed that wonderfully. The 35 5-point Fridays to councillors, I've been as transparent as I possibly could in a way that hopefully empowers you to make better decisions and understand some of the rationale of what I've done in the background. And I'm not going to do what a former mayor did and put a 50-minute slideshow up of my wonderful achievements for the year, because the reality is they're not my achievements, they're our achievements, they're your achievements. But we've done a good job, and I've played a small role in some of those, but particularly the gains we made in childcare. Gosh, we lost some skin in that process, but we got a wonderful outcome from our city, which hopefully the battle that ensued over a short period of time there will be long forgotten by the time we get those 6 childcare centres back to world-class education facilities, which they will be. A renewed focus on our community groups, but also reaching out to some parts of our community, which I'm sure the next mayor will do also. Every mayor brings their different angle to it. The angle I've tried to bring is to also make a bridge between our local businesses, our small business people, and the role of council also. I've enjoyed this job immensely, and I thank all of you. But particularly just running through it, Councillor Clark, you've been a good support to me, and you've always kept me honest in terms of the way that you've given me counsel over the last 12 months. So you've always kept me honest, but I hope we've made sure that you've been listened to and heard here on council. My success was a large part of Deputy Mayor Baxter. Deputy Mayor Baxter and I got on very well, I thought, until perhaps recently, if you read what was publicly released. But put that to one side. I relied very heavily, particularly in the first 3 to 6 months, on guidance and making sure that we were being seen and acted as a united team around the council. We did a number of walks together around the building, which I think added quite a lot of value to our staff. And a lot of those people that have worked here for 15, 20 years and never met a councillor before, let alone the mayor and the deputy mayor. And that was a good thing to have. And I enjoyed it immensely. So thank you, Deputy Mayor Baxter, for your support over the last 12 months. I enjoyed working with you, and I look forward to working with you over the next 2 years. Louise, you left me a wonderful legacy to be able to transition from, and you know, we had a good conversation today, and I've enjoyed what you've been able to do to help me, particularly with the advocacy side on your side of politics. So you positioned a lot of the groundwork on a lot of the announcements that are now being rolled out, and you did a wonderful job last year, and you helped me immensely. My job was a lot easier than yours, as I said before, and you did a great job last year. Councillor Martin, you are the levelling out of the Gateway Ward team. You're a best promoter of Gateway Ward. You always say that the way we conduct ourselves is better than any other ward, which is true, but that's because you're the glue that holds us together, so thank you. Councillor Consolo, you've been a good confidant from a Gateway Ward support point of view, but also I've enjoyed working with you and also growing together a little in the role also. You're able to check and work out what we were doing going forward. On the advocacy side also, Councillor Copsey, you've been of great benefit, particularly when we first moved into the advocacy items of coming through the council process to make sure we're hitting the mark right. And you've also delivered some pretty wonderful outcomes for the city in your role as candidate also. And we wish you all the very best in the state election also. Councillor Sirikoff, I called you yesterday and the first thing you said was, "What have I done wrong?" Which I thought, wow, that's terrible. So I'm sorry I didn't call you enough as your mayor, because clearly the only time I was calling you was to tell you off about something. But you're a very detailed focused person. I've enjoyed sitting on the Audit and Risk Committee with you. Keep going with that, please, because no one else wants to do it. No, because it's a very important role and you're very good at it. Councillor Bond, as I said before, thank you for your support. I wouldn't be at this table if it wasn't for you and you asking for some people to run for council all those years ago, so thank you also. Most importantly, it has been a difficult time, not a difficult time, but juggling a calendar with a couple of full-time jobs and a number of other things going on needs a lot of support from you as councillors, but it also takes a big toll at what goes on at home. So, Prudy, I love you dearly and thank you for everything you've done. And Clementine, you're a little superstar and I love you dearly, but I'm looking forward to spending a bit more time with you as we talked about that this morning. So, well done. I'd also just like to thank my parents and my parents-in-law and my sister Gabrielle. And there's also Steve Grapsis. Forgot to mention you last time. That was important to make, but thank you for your support over here. And Angie Scanlon, you're here also, and Lauren Sherson, so thank you for coming. And it would be remiss in not acknowledging the former mayor of the city of Port Phillip, the great Dick Ross. So thank you. Well, welcome, Dickie. You missed the presentation that you were here for, but that's standard status quo with you, isn't it? But councillors, it's been an honour and a privilege to serve with you. I'm looking forward to the next 2 years. Any damage that I imposed in the past 12 months, I hope we can repair that fairly quickly. But honestly, I've done my best. I think we've got some good outcomes. I don't know what more I could have done, to be honest with you. I've enjoyed every single second of it. It was an honour to do it. I'd love to do it again if you ever want to give it to me. But thank you from the bottom of my heart for giving me the opportunity. Yes, that's it. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Councillor Pearl. And on behalf of the City, we have a gift to acknowledge your service to the City of Port Phillip. A wonderful collection of goodies from the South Melbourne Market. All right. I'll now invite Councillor Tim Baxter to address the meeting as outgoing Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Chris. I was going to say interim CEO. I think I'll just call you Chris. It's been a big year for a number of reasons. The first sort of year out of lockdowns and our ability to come back to doing a lot of things as we would normally do on council. Although I don't know there's a whole lot of normal left here or anywhere. I guess one thing I'd like to talk about, I think, is something I've learned over that year. I think that's probably a good thing to talk about. And it's something that I think all councillors could always benefit from a refresher on, is really the power of our community and the power of that shared power that's held outside this chamber and outside these rooms in this building. We, in December last year, passed a motion to investigate the sale of 3 childcare centres. And this was at a time where, we just had a change of mayor. We were all working very, very hard to work together, or to try to not rock the boat and not cause a lot of arguments. So we all decided we were going to, go in the same direction on this, and that was a terrible mistake for us to investigate selling those centres. And what we discovered was that, we'd made these decisions in these chambers, we'd had conversations behind closed doors, and we'd all sort of made a commitment to make each other feel better about it. But we hadn't really checked in with what the community felt about that until we opened it up for consultation, and they really let us know. It was a really good reminder that although there is a lot of power that's exercised within this building, either in this chamber or behind closed doors or whatever, that power is nothing compared to that collective power that is shared and exercised by our community. And that is really what we should be keeping front and centre all the time. And in fact, working to continue to empower our community and make sure that they can always have their voice no matter what shenanigans we might get up to amongst ourselves. So that, I think, was, I want to say, a great learning experience. It was an awful experience for those people who had to campaign to keep their childcare centres open. But in the end, I think we got to a good place, which is great, and councillors came around, which was great. But that's a lesson that I think will stay with me, and I hope that stays with other councillors. So it's been a stressful year, and let's hope that the next one is a lot smoother, and that we can hopefully do more to get some good outcomes for our community. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Baxter. And on behalf of the City, we also have a small gift to acknowledge your service to the City of Port Phillip as Deputy Mayor. Moving to the next item of business, the term of the mayoral office. So in accordance with Section 26 of the Local Government Act 2020, before a mayor and deputy mayor is elected, the council must determine by resolution whether the mayor is to be elected for a 1-year term or a 2-year term. I seek a councillor to move a motion that council determines to be elected to serve, the mayor be elected to serve A, a 1-year term, or B, a 2-year term. Pearl?
I move that we a 1-year term.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Martin. Thank you, Councillor Pearl. would you like to speak to the motion?
No, thank you.
Councillor Martin, would you like to speak to the motion? Is there any other councillor who wants to speak for or against this motion? Councillor Pearl, would you like to speak and close the debate?
No, thank you.
I will now put the motion. All those in favour? All those against? The motion is carried. All right, moving to item 7, the election of the Mayor. Thank you, councillors. As the term of the office of the Mayor and Deputy, well, the Mayor has now been determined, I will now conduct the election of the office of the Mayor. The election of the Mayor is conducted in accordance with Section 25 of the Local Government Act and the procedure as set out in Council's governance rules. For a councillor to be elected as Mayor by vote, that councillor must receive an absolute majority of votes, which is the number of councillors greater than half the total number of councillors of the council. For us here at the City of Port Phillip, an absolute majority is obtained with 5 votes, regardless of how many councillors are in attendance at the meeting, which is not an issue for tonight. The first councillor to receive an absolute majority of votes will be declared elected. I now call for nominations for the position of Mayor. Councillor Clark.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Heather Consolo, please.
Councillor Consolo, do you accept the nomination?
Yes, thank you.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Crawford. Do I have any further nominations?
Yes, I'd like to nominate myself.
Councillor Baxter, I assume that you accept the nomination. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Copsey. Okay. So, councillors, I will put the nominations to a vote, given that we have more than one. So I have 2 nominations for the position of Mayor, being Councillor Consolo and Councillor Baxter. I'll now put these nominations to the vote in the order that I've just mentioned, in the order that they were nominated. All councillors must vote for one councillor only. All those councillors who wish to vote for Councillor Consolo, please raise your hand. Councillor Pearl, Councillor Consolo, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. Thank you. All those who wish to vote for Councillor Baxter. Thank you. Having received the absolute majority, I declare Councillor Consolo the Mayor of the City of Port Phillip. Councillor Consolo, I now invite you to assume the chair and preside over the remaining of the proceedings. I'll take a nice break. I also invite you to make a ceremonial speech if you wish to do so.
Very different view up here. Exciting to be here. It is an honour, a privilege and a big responsibility to be the 16th Mayor of the City of Port Phillip. Of course, our history goes a lot farther with the cities of Port Melbourne, South Melbourne and St Kilda, and notably far, far longer to the traditional owners of the land, the people of the Kulin Nation, to whom I pay my respect and acknowledge their continuing relationship to this land. I have a duty of care to all we represent in our municipality, my fellow councillors and our fantastic council staff. I do not take this lightly. I'd like to thank our outgoing Mayor, Marcus Pearl, for doing an excellent job in the role, as well as Louise Crawford in year 1. Both have set a high standard and are tough acts to follow. Nearly everyone in the room or listening online knows who Bernadine Voss is. Bernadine was a big inspiration to me, seeing myself on council and in the mayor's role. She made it look easy, which I now know it isn't. Thank you to Bernadine and all past councillors for your great work as stewards of this municipality. I'd also like to thank my fellow councillors for electing me as mayor. As you know, it was contested. I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity. I will enhance authentic working relationships with all of you to achieve our council plan. Thank you to our outgoing Deputy Mayor, Tim Baxter, and we'll see who becomes deputy shortly. I come to this role with a strong focus on the community, the whole city of Port Phillip, including my fantastic support base in the Gateway Ward. Perhaps I'm not giving a clear outline of what I will be doing this year, but there are 2 specific projects that I would like to see get some traction this year. That's the future of the Station Pier Freight Yard and the Green Line down here in Balaclava, among many others already in our council plan. This afternoon I took a minute to let this all sink in, and I thought, how did I get here? And the answer, one day at a time, which is the approach I'll take from today, day 1 as mayor. Physically, though, I was born overseas, but I got here as soon as I could, which was straight after university in 2008. So for 14 years, I've immersed myself in Australian life, and I love it. I've run my own architecture practice for over a decade, and I will pause this for a year, but bring my love of good practical design to the mayor role. We face a lot of unknowns this year. Who will be the next CEO after the interim CEO? Thank you for what you're doing. Who that will be? Who will be elected to Parliament in the various electorates? Good luck, ladies. And will we be getting new councillors or councillors coming back to join us? We have plenty of challenges ahead of us. Working as a team, we can assure our community we have their best interests at heart in our decision making. I've come to realize one of my favourite parts of being in the councillor role is speaking to the many different people that make up the city. Every day there are little bits and stories that come. It's very rewarding, and it's a long-lasting aspect and influence on my life. One of my strengths is I look for perspective of what a person is saying, even if I don't agree with what their opinion or stance is. I try to listen before I formulate my views. Now, I will absolutely mispronounce things. Australian English is, after all, my second language. I know I need to work on sleeping more, speaking slower, and being on time, none of which come naturally to me. However, sometimes we don't know our own strength and potential until we give it a go. I've left my very important thank yous and acknowledgements of my family into the end, as speaking about them makes me flood with love. I'd like to give a virtual hug to Gramps the Great. He put the idea of mayor in my head before I even considered it. I wish you could have made it tonight. Hello to Biz Nana at the back there. You've been a great example of immigration in this country, arriving from Sicily in 1963 and raising your family that has become mine too. I'm very grateful for my mother and father-in-law, also here, who are always sharing their time to help us, and I couldn't do this without my family's support, making me feel family from day one. Thank you to my brother-in-law and niece. Thanks for coming tonight to share in this special day. Council is a real commitment, and it's been very trying on my family. Wednesdays are a mix of emotions, with me always out, and many other nights and weekends too. But thank you to my awesome husband. I'm so grateful for you. Hello to my darling children, Vivian, Thomas, and Calvin. They've been so excited for the prospect of today happening. I don't think they are 100% across what it means, but in a way, I don't know either. So we'll figure it out together. But I think that all the events that you get to come to as kids of councillors, as all the kids have done, will come back as memories when you're much older, and you'll realize, oh, that was kind of cool. Now it might not always be cool. But I frequently have flashbacks of what my mom did in her community work. And I didn't really realize it was as impactful because I went down the architecture route where she was a physical therapist and did her community stuff. But here I am, and I know that her care and dedication in our little small town in Southern California really shaped me to be who the person I am here on the other side of the world. So thank you, Mom and Dad, and my siblings. I know you're listening online, and I wish you could have been here. To wrap up, I'm overwhelmed with excitement and what this year holds. So thank you, everyone. We will move now on to Section 8, which is the election of the Deputy Mayor. This follows the same format as the election of the Mayor. I will now conduct the election for the office of the Deputy Mayor. In accordance with Section 20A of the Local Government Act, Council may establish an office of Deputy Mayor. I seek a councillor to move a motion that Council establishes an office of the Deputy Mayor to align with the length of the mayoral term. Councillor Martin? This is hard from backwards when I don't have your names, even though I know your names. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Pearl? All those in favour? That's unanimous. Okay, sorry. The green I don't read. It's a note. Okay. Yeah, should practice. The election of the Deputy Mayor is conducted in accordance with Section 27 of the Local Government Act and the procedure as set out in Council's governance rules. For a councillor to be elected as Deputy Mayor by vote, the councillor must receive an absolute majority of votes, which is the number of councillors greater than half the total number of councillors of the council. For the City of Port Phillip, an absolute majority is obtained with 5 votes, regardless of how many councillors are in attendance at the meeting. The first councillor to receive an absolute majority of votes will be declared elected. I now call for nominations for the position of Deputy Mayor. Councillor Pearl?
Nominate Councillor Andrew Bond.
Do you accept the nomination? Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you. Councillor Sarakoff? I guess I have to read that out, yeah? Okay. Do I have any further nominations? No? All right. Sorry, you're going to let me find this. Okay. There have been no further nominations. I declare Councillor Bond the Deputy Mayor of the City of Port Phillip. Congratulations, Councillor Bond. I now invite you to address the gallery, if you wish to.
Once again, I will not say too much, as these meetings usually go for about 10 or 15 minutes, and I think we're up to half an hour already, and there's probably caterers outside watching the food go cold or whatever it is they're doing out there. First, to start off by congratulating Marcus Pearl as the outgoing Mayor of Port Phillip. You've done a fantastic job over the last 12 months with your energy and with your enthusiasm and your passion for the role. It's just been great for someone like myself to watch. I think Councillor Consolo will be the 6th Mayor of the City of Port Phillip under which I have served. So congratulations, Heather, on your election to the role. You will be a fantastic Mayor, just like each of the previous 5 have been fantastic mayors and great representatives of this city, and I've no doubt that you will live up to the standards that those previous 5 have set. Including the great Dick Gross, who's managed to join us. Thank you for coming along, Dick. It's great to have you here. I won't say too much, but yeah, thank you everyone for putting the faith in me in this role. The role of the Deputy Mayor is to support the Mayor and offer advice where the Mayor requests it, and I look forward to doing that over the next 12 months. Any questions you have and any advice you need, or just any ideas and thoughts you want to run past me, I will be more than happy to assist you in your role over the next 12 months. And good luck, and I have no doubt you'll be fantastic at this role.
Thank you. All right, there being no further business, I declare the meeting closed.